Okay, hello everyone. We're here with Matthew and we're gonna do this talk through session. So nice to have you with me, Matthew.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's been fun diving into this competition so far. Looking forward to talking about everything here.
Yeah, so we have lots to talk about, 33 awesome submissions, and we're gonna be giving some pointers about those different criteria that how we're judging, and you can kind of like enjoy the whole ride, or if you submitted some, you can check those. But yeah, let's get going. So you can go first on your opinions about the NOZA tea company.
Yeah, sure. So the NOZA Tea Company, interesting exterior and interior concept. What I really liked doing as I was going through some of the submissions is seeing how closely the concepts from the exterior are brought into the interior, whether it's color relationships or, for instance, how this glass kind of interacts with the indoors and outdoors. So I thought this was executed quite well. Design wise, I think it's quite interesting. Virtual tea is definitely something new in the metaverse. I don't think that's been done yet, so I'm looking forward to trying that out. Absolutely.
Yeah, really cool. And also I like the how it's like the NOZA type of thing, whole thing. So really liked it. And here on the Bevel Road Design Shop, it's more of like a street. But if you think as one of those stores individually, I really liked how there is like this organic shapes, and that's the fun thing about when you're doing a metaverse design, when you don't need to be just stuck on the what is easy to do in the physical
Yeah,
world.
absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And also like just those objects that like design objects that will be for sure a huge thing in the metaverse, like having all kinds of design objects that people want to have in their virtual homes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Fragment timepiece. I'm assuming it means fragment. I love the idea that they're taking this concept of bringing that Rodeo Drive or Oxford feel. This idea that it's a high end shopping district. Timepieces are something I find quite interesting, and architecturally, I like the idea that the building is looking like a sundial. When I do projects, whether it's metaverse related or in real life, I like to think about things like the solar path, and being able to highlight whether it's a special time on Cornerstone or a special point in the seasons or the years, like let's say an equinox or something. I find that quite interesting. So I think that there's some really good like architectural basis here for something along that lines. And I really think that it fits with the concept. This one I found quite intriguing, actually.
Yeah, same here. Like I really like that because it was really mind exploding about the slowing down time, and this is actually something that goes all the way back to the these umbrella rules of Cornerstone. So very eager to talk this even further. But
Yeah.
yeah, then about the Tiny Titans, and there is also a little bit similar than with the Fragment. It's going a little bit on those metaverse rules, and the thing about having these different bonsai trees, and it made me thinking that actually it would be super cool that there is this specific store where you can get certain bonsai seeds or the tiny trees, and then maybe they can grow into bigger ones, and that's the place where you need to get those exotic metaverse trees. So really
Yeah.
fun one. Yeah.
That, I would love to see this one with some accents of NOZA crystals in the tree, almost like that they're little like seedlings or something along those lines. That'd be really interesting to kind of see some of that, like in the tea house, how the NOZA colors are showing up. I think that that would be a really interesting concept to add to this one.
Yeah, and the good thing is that this would be actually quite easy to execute, and because
Yeah.
it's simple, but same time like with those trees and all that would be bringing in and making it so the minimalism really works for this one.
Yeah, yeah. So a gaming accessory store is called the Virtual Vault, stored within the metaverse that caters to the needs and desires of gamers who are looking to enhance their gaming experience. I think that this is a perfect fit for the metaverse. You know, if the main concepts here are trying to come up with metaverse native ideas, this makes a lot of sense to me. Back in the day, I used to play Grand Theft Auto, right? And you would be able to go shopping for things and all of that. So this makes sense. A totally cool concept. Again, I like how the exterior and interior architecture is really mirroring. I can see the triangular shape on the outside and see how that vaulting effect comes on the inside. So again, I think this was executed well. They follow the directions. I also like, you know, when we're talking about really captivating graphics, I think when we're trying to look at what a successful mid journey would look like, I can see that it has connections in that exterior shape shot to what the island looks like. So I find that that's quite compelling.
Yeah, and would also love to see if that would be actually your gate into this some type of game that you would be gearing up there when you come to the
Yeah,
store, and you would be right away entering to some type of uh, action movie combat whatever would be happening there. But then,
yeah.
yeah, about a little bit about the portals. Like, I really like the design. How you can see that would be amazing to see that in motion, because I believe that when it was designed, there was already some plan that it's this moving and motion happening, and there was some holographic culture and bioengineered textiles, and also on that interior image, you can see that there is some type of Ready Player One type of vibes when they were shopping stuff, that you would be seeing those, not just the mannequins only, but you would almost see, for example, yourself in that
Mm-hmm.
actual outfit. So really
Yeah.
cool.
This one was one of my favorite exteriors. I really felt like this one. I like it when they're pushing concepts that are less physically capable here in the real world, and something that's more obscure and oblique. And I think that architecturally, like you mentioned, if it's moving and operating, that would be really interesting. So yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites to look at.
Yeah,
The NOZA Ocean Riders. I remember seeing this. This one I think came in pretty early on.
yeah,
I loved how I think that's Keanu Reeves, by the way,
yeah.
surfing, is it not? I really loved how there's reference to. It's almost kind of like feeling like like a like a theme park type situation here. So I think that the concept of knowing what's inside the building and what's happening and what the use of the building is quite compelling. Again, I like how the colors are reminiscent of NOZA. I really like kind of those connections. So I thought that this was a fun one to look at. Definitely fun and interesting. You know, it'd be cool to see some surfing competitions in the metaverse. Definitely.
Yeah, and somehow also what you're thinking, and when you're seeing those waves and seeing that happening, and those water simulations and all that, I think it would be actually super cool, and that would bring a lot to this design, and almost like seeing some holographic surfers on the top that would be competing, and actually this maybe could be on the shoreline, like it would be fun surf shops, or maybe that's the whole thing of having it in the midst of the Noza Avenue, and then that's your way to transport to directly to do
Yeah.
some awesome surfing.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then yeah, like white space. There's always room for some white minimal design. Uh,
absolutely.
so and I like that it was the vintage tech, probably meaning like these elements that we, if you would have a little Game Boy or something, or some type of objects, cell phone, and when we're thinking of it in the fully metaverse where we don't need that technology, for them are metaverse avatars, but it's more of a vintage tech thing to a cool
Hmm.
thing to have some type of cell phone or something else.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to start to see when people have those Apple Surface Pros at the thrift shop or something like that, right? And you go into one of these stores and see that. I like architecturally, the building is different. It has a feel of this combination of postmodernism and modern minimalistic approach. I find that it's quite well balanced. Even though that there's no, I'm trying to find like an architectural rationale to the shapes and pulls. But what's interesting is because even though that there's not a specific, I'm not seeing something specifically right away. I find it quite, I guess, inviting and intriguing. It makes you want to go inside. So I think that this was quite interesting. Everyone's got to love all white. That's really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Clockwork Couture. Um, when I first saw this, I initially kind of was like, oh, okay, so we've got a couple timepiece type things going on. But then I started looking into this one a little bit more, and I really liked the idea that there's a steampunk inspired place. It got me thinking a little bit about the different districts on the island. Sometime back we were kind of talking about what those things might be, and how these different districts may have their own kind of identity. But I also, even if this were on, a Nose Avenue type situation, I kind of really like the diversity that this is bringing. I like that it's rustic. It's kind of got this almost like a Game of Thrones vibe meets, I'm not quite sure, but again, steampunk, creative idea, cool concept. Definitely came out with the Mid-Journey work. So I'm liking this one a lot.
Yeah, and I wonder when some of these buildings start to be in the island, does that actually start to inspire the other buildings around it? That when there comes this type of very cool piece, that other ones wanna mix and match. So,
Yeah,
but really, and
yeah,
and
that'll
also
be really interesting.
and outfits like avatar outfits, of course, like that's
Yeah,
for a certain specific style and matching it with the architecture. Really like it.
yeah.
So mine journey. This is something that there was a lot of actually like when we had the other session, like there was a lot of people who really liked the shape, and they also some people mentioned that how hard it is to get this type of shape in using Midjourney. And here
Hmm.
I just really liked how it blends, and there's this one. Restaurant in Norway that has a little bit similar aesthetics, and it's really astonishing. And maybe on the concept, there would be fun like that. Maybe this would be your crystal charging bod. Now it was more about going into these guided meditation and hallucinogenic journeys, and yeah, like wherever crystals take you.
Yeah, I find this one intriguing. I like that the building also nods to, you can see the interior shot, kind of the angle of the chair, and then the person laying in the chair. The exterior of the building kind of has that same angle happening. So I actually feel that that's like a really interesting, whether it was purposeful or not, I think that is a really interesting thing. I also, again, when we're thinking about these metaverse native concepts, I know that a lot of people are thinking, well, we're just looking at computer screens, but we're not going to be for much longer. And I like the idea that this is really thinking about a real future use case that is as simple as someone wearing contacts or glasses like I'm wearing and being fully immersed into this hallucinogenic like journey. And it's not, again, just kind of looking at your computer screen going, wow, that's cool. It's not a screensaver. So I think that this is a really cool concept and architecturally executed quite well.
Yeah. And then yeah,
The digital deck
yeah,
apparel. So embarking on a stylish journey through the metaverse with our yacht club themed fashion brand. I like that. I like yacht rock music. So they're going for this kind of nautical inspired, cutting edge, accessories to elevate your presence. So I like this. Again, it's, we were looking at the steampunk a minute ago. I think that the building exterior and interior do nod to this idea of these futuristic yachts. I've done some mid-journey concepts of looking at what a quote unquote Zaha Hadid slash Frank Gehry type yacht may end up looking like. And you start putting in the parametric components and all that. And you really do kind of get an architecture that looks like this. And it does have a feel of this kind of like ship coming up and out of the water. And then the interior has that kind of, I guess you call it like a neo-modernism with the neon lights or the light strips. But it also has that classical appeal that you see kind of with kind of the yacht culture. And, of course, like the centerpiece, the mannequin there. I love the blue pants and the white coat. These things are not the easiest to really get to render well in Midjourney. So I think that this was done really nicely. And I can see, if I'm looking at the exterior image and the interior shot, I can really see that translation between the spaces. So I think this one was done really well.
Yeah, and also like it looks like in Monaco they have the yacht club there, and there is some, and
Mm-hmm.
also these type of wavy things, and it definitely makes me think that okay, when we have the Nose Avenue, yes, but okay, how's the harbor area and how's the waterfront gonna look like? And you already, from those reflections and a little bit of that, it looks like it's right there on the seashore, so on the
Yeah.
waterfront. So
And I like what you said about these. Whether it could be a multiplicity of building types. Like Avenue could not only be stores, but like you were mentioning, portals to these locations, which I find more compelling than going to a standard portal and, like, clicking on a wheel of where you're going. It's like when you walk into the store, you naturally walk into this new environment, and then when you walk out, all of a sudden you're portaled to the next place. You didn't even realize it happened. That, I think, is really interesting.
yeah, and that somehow, like when we're thinking about our digital world together with our physical, and through the digital we're currently being able to transport and work, and even running this session and all that, and maybe in a little bit similar way that these physical or metaverse physical spaces are helping you to enter these, like, next deeper in the dream somehow, like Inception style.
I
But
love it.
yeah, but then it was the psychedelic rabbits. I like how it's the bots bots there, and uh like really I definitely see that there needs to be, because it's the cultural building of Cornerstone, having different type of cultures, and this somehow goes really well with that steampunk style. Like almost you could see them side by side. That is this
Yeah.
rusty carnival thing going on, and also like having these rabbit enter into the rabbit hole with some crazy adventures. So that would be worth of
Yeah.
experiencing.
Yeah, I agree. I like the diversity here. I love the kind of forward thinking and kind of esoteric thinking some of these are going with, especially like immersive experiences and psychedelics. All that stuff is very interesting. And yeah, I look forward to visiting this one for sure.
Only thing that would have been nice to see some companions there, and
Yes.
because
Yes.
we don't have the normal animals. They might look like and feel like certain animals, so like a body psychedelic companion rabbits. Then yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's a good call. Tranquility Grove. It's a this building. I just looking at this. This is one of the more compelling ones too for me. The sinuous nature, and again that interior exterior connection. I can legitimately see that the interior picture looks like it's coming from the image above, which I find quite interesting. The prompt is talking about forging meaningful connections with fellow seekers from around the globe. I like that concept. And I can see that there's kind of this reference to like this shell structure, almost like like you're found on the beach somewhere, and how something can kind of wash ashore, and you never know how far sea animals really travel and all that sort of stuff. So I find that interesting. I like these buildings that are talking about meditations and mindfulness practices, and places to get together to talk about that. On a side note, I'm doing this like sound retreat thing next week, which I'm really excited about. And I look forward to being able to do that type of stuff in the metaverse space, and I think this would be a great place to do it. I have a feeling I know who put this one together, even though I know we're not supposed to talk about it, but I have a feeling I know who did this one.
Yeah, cool. But then there are trends. Outdoor fashion store, and this is I really like you almost feel like it's a pop up store type of thing, and that could be almost I could see many of these like similar type of things maybe somewhere in the Nose Avenue, actually in the middle of it, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's really fun how the stones and how those are blending into those structures.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is another one of those things where I can really see just some hints of NOZA popping in and out. I think everything tying to kind of that lore, and if these wearables are somehow NOZA powered and all that sort of stuff, I can really see this being like a place I'd stop in, definitely.
Yeah.
This one's an interesting one. Memphis Motifs is an avant-garde art gallery, which I really love that something of this nature is brought. So talking about the audacious spirit of the Memphis group, showcasing and selling an eclectic mix of postmodern design pieces with a burst of radical shapes and vibrant colors, executed perfectly. I love that we've kind of got these dynamic colors going on, and it's really hitting, I think, a design motif that hasn't really been touched on. I think the architecture is leaning a little bit towards kind of this modern minimalistic vibe, whereas what's happening on the inside and those pieces are really what's focusing kind of on that, like on this kind of design aesthetic, which I actually kind of find appealing. At first, I was kind of hoping that the building would have been a little bit more that way. But then when you start to compete the architecture with the interiors, especially when it's something along these lines, I think that they made a really good choice on that. It's kind of got this like Apple Store vibe, and then it's like definitely not an Apple Store. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And also, somehow I'm very excited when we start to talk about metaverse art, that how, for example, if you have a certain art piece, that how do you make some connections and even integrate that with maybe with some type of physical world thing or metrics, and then that actually makes that art to react to it, and I could
Yeah.
see these art pieces somehow being in motion and reacting, and that also communicating us something interesting and important, and you could have the whole art gallery thing going on in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, then the Neon Nexus. This I like really like the movie Oblivion, Tom Cruise going on, and this gives that type of really those type of vibes, and this is a cool like a showroom experience, and definitely it I feel like this is one of those like out of the box experiences, like it's not
Mm-hmm.
your first thing that you would be thinking, but somehow it just looks really cool on that Icelandic surrounding, and having some of that cyberpunk thing going on as well.
Yeah. I also like that the only thing you really see from the surface is kind of this like orb, and that you obviously will descend into the main space. I like buildings that leave more to the imagination, or it's like we were talking about portals, right? So maybe this is a portal out to somewhere, and this is kind of where you start and stop type situation. So I like that. Again, I wasn't expecting so much cyberpunk relationships in this. I find that quite interesting. I didn't know that there was such a big like culture around that. So I think it's really interesting to see.
Yeah, and definitely also like you could almost see that flying, and that is also part of
Yeah.
the technology coming in, because we're not just for Cornerstone, it's not something that there is just randomly some technology in, but with later on with all these resources and gathering and putting some technology together and using the NOZA energy, and that could be a flying thing or like teleporting you to some other game or dimension or whatever
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
happens there.
Turquoise Sea. Again, this one has that kind of like postmodern design aesthetic, which I find really interesting. So, this is a distinctive store selling coffee machines made from Noza rock, emerging from the natural beauty. And what I like about this is this again, this idea that a companion, maybe the C stands for companion as well as coffee, and maybe it's kind of like the place where your companion goes when it doesn't have time to go back to its nesting spot to regenerate, right? You got to get a quick energy boost, or it's a place for companions to go meet with each other, that type of thing. So I find it interesting. It's got the interior vibe. I can see what's going on with kind of how the colors are relating. And I can see how turquoise and those are very similar. It's almost like a derivative. It's like gold and different types of ore and all that sort of stuff. So, very cool, different concept. I like it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think somehow like it comes interesting that can like there has been a lot of like these coffee things going on. That is it something that NOSA actually needs to be if you want to have the fragments to your extra energy. So good question, and we haven't actually decided that, but there's starting to be a lot of pressure in that maybe it needs to be in the liquid form of getting that, and then that would actually make this turquoise be very successful business if we make this type of rule for Cornerstone.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. And then it's the Na that is this also metaverse art gallery, and I really like the shape of it, and it's another of those um, organic like designs where you can see and how the lights also like I really like how there is this a little bit of flower thing going on as well, and same time that how does it blend with the interior, and
Mm-hmm.
and one important like thing is like, okay, how does the art when it's the frames and when it's actually paintings, that what is the metaverse painting actually. So it's gonna be interesting, but I definitely see that there is a potential for these type of galleries as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a lot of space for these metaverse art galleries. I think that the use case is still to be worked out. In my mind, I see kind of these places like digital twins, right? So let's say I own a physical piece, but I also have this digital piece, and you can buy either or both in these galleries. So I think that the metaverse is more than just what's happening in this like other realm. It's about how it connects to this life that we are living. And I do look forward to kind of seeing how the art space evolves. I'm an artist as well, so this is quite interesting architecturally. I agree with you. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
The NOZA Cafe, a derivative on our turquoise sea, right? So we've got this, when I looked at the pictures, really the first thing I thought was this really works, right? So you've got this idea of NOZA Avenue. It's not all just shops, and not all just coming in and spending your digital currencies. It's about creating kind of these neighborhoods and places for connection. And I like that looking at this, it doesn't feel like you're in this bustling shopping district. It's almost like kind of like you get pulled away just a little bit, just to kind of like connect with somebody else. So I find that quite interesting. Again, I'm finding this idea of NOZA coffee to be kind of more and more interesting as we talk about it. So I'm glad that these are concepts that are kind of being presented here. And again, the interior and exterior architecture definitely informs each other. Everything from the trees, they're literally the same language. The water feature in the background in both images. I mean, this is one of those mid journeys that I thought was executed with really a really high skill. So I got to say kudos to that.
Yeah, it looks really cool. But yeah, then those like this was one of my like because I'm a huge Inception fan, so having that vibe going on and the dream catcher where you go to sofa and then you get to go to a dream within a dream type of thing. So it really hit with me like really well. And also the exterior is fun, fun, like a very interesting piece. And somehow that is this dark, and the that only light coming from these with this ceiling light. And I really like it in a way.
Yeah, I do too. I think architecturally, it's almost like the spaceship that landed, which is really, really neat. And then an interior space with just that singular light source, really cool. I'm still trying to find kind of where that is in the building. And maybe it's kind of from the top spindle or kind of from that entry piece. But I really do this is a different and unique design aesthetic. When it's paired with a series of other buildings in a shopping district, maybe this would be better standing off, like, on this like lone mountaintop, because it is such a strong architectural design. So yeah, I like this one a lot too.
Yeah, then of course, yeah.
NOZAs. Yeah. So we urgently need NOZAs, the Cornerstone Sports Bar, where people can get together and enjoy their favorite teams in a friendly environment. When we're talking about metaverse native ideas, I think that there's so many use cases. And just like if you're a fan of, like, I like Formula One racing, and racing is happening on the other side of the world, and it doesn't matter because the time zone that's happening there's going to be people from all around the world kind of watching these events. It's not just kind of these regional things happening. So having a place, because there's not that many fans of international sports like that, kind of right where I'm at. So having a place to be able to kind of gather and talk shop and all that stuff, I do find interesting. And again, I think that the interior and exteriors are talking to each other. I like the touch of the NOZA. And at first I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of like it could be done in the real world, but there's nothing wrong with that. Like I really find that this is a place that's inviting. It's like, let's go, let's do this. So yeah, I'm cool with this one a lot.
Yeah, and would love to actually see that car that is outside, that like racing with those cars, and then people are cheering, and one of the
Yeah.
cars falling from the cliff and all that, like all that danger happening and all that. Like I can definitely see that coming together. And then this BBC, the Black Beach Club, I really like. I think this box idea definitely was out of the box. I really like the idea that you could get to this exclusive beach area through entering into this box. And somehow, because that something that I was thinking, that because we have already the seashore, or we have that beach area, that is this something that then it's totally out of the Cornerstone Island, that it's some type of paradise island that is definitely like taking you to a different dimension, different universe. And probably that would make it cool. But I really like the
Yeah.
simplicity of it.
Yeah, I like the concept as well. Scale wise, I looked at it and I was like, how am I going to fit in that box? It looks right. It looks kind of like it's a smaller box. It's in the district. I love the idea though. Like you get to it, and all of a sudden you like morph into it, and you pop up on this other side. And Definitely really cool. Like it a lot.
And also maybe about the exclusivity, if you would limit a certain amount of people that can only enter, so that would bring this type of thing that who gets to go to this club
Mm, yeah.
on certain day and having huge wait list and all that. So definitely,
Are you
yeah,
gonna have a, cornerstone bouncer or a, companion bouncer
yeah,
out
like
there?
NOZA supersized biped
Yeah.
who's gonna be on the door.
Exactly. The My Health Center proudly stands as an inaugural flagship store of a groundbreaking metaverse wellness center. So a lot of wellness stuff, which I really find really refreshing. It seamlessly blends the physical and digital realms in this innovative hub where individuals are invited to engage in guided meditations, participate in dynamic workout sessions, etc. Um, this one, again, when we're talking architecturally, the materials are translating from interior to out. The modernism is executed quite well. I really like the minimalistic approach. When I'm talking about architecture and buildings, especially when you're looking at a minimalistic building, you still need to understand certain things. So you could have a minimalistic box, but if you're looking at the box, you need to know where the entry is. So you need to create hierarchy and rhythm and patterns, and that composition goes from a box to a box with this kind of like what you're seeing in this image, like this vertical feature that's almost like this separate wing that creates this outdoor courtyard space. This tells me this is where I enter the building, which I really, really find interesting. I like the use of natural light in the interior spaces. Like I want to be in the space. I feel peaceful. I think that this was one of my favorites to look at. And again, whether this takes you to a portal that brings you to this space, right, or the back of the building is all of a sudden transporting you here. I really like. And my favorite image of the interior shots is that top right one where you kind of have that like organic curved window, and then this kind of thing in the middle, this rock platform for meditation or what have you. I really think that was executed well. And then I could see the bonsai tree was sourced from the bonsai store, which is great.
Yeah, and I believe these type of spaces will definitely need a VR headset, uh,
Yeah.
because we still like, and I definitely believe that metaverse will be best experience with the full immersion with the VR headset, and the quality that, for example, the Vision Pro is already providing. You could see that only by being in this type of space, it would be calming you down, and only just
Mm-hmm.
experiencing that. So exciting, exciting. And then the Munes that is this when it gets rainy in the cornerstone and weather treats you bad, so then you actually can have this venue space. And I liked how it's on the exterior shot, where you can see that it's blended with those rocks, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely like how that light comes through that, and that was maybe my favorite thing about this concept, that how it's blended with the Black Rock Mountains.
Yeah, and I think when we're talking about a metaverse use case, having these types of use cases, these event spaces, is super important, to not only bring people like gamers into this, but whether it's students coming in for some sort of like symposium, or it's a meeting of the minds at a company or a training session, etc. I think that these types of buildings are as important as the other use cases, and having that mixture in our same platform, I think is something that is really unique, and I'm glad that somebody brought this to the table.
Yeah, and then Nose Nest.
The nose and nest interiors accessories. So the idea that we have this fashion avenue situation, and these interior accessories, it goes hand in hand. Perfect fit. I couldn't imagine a better kind of fit for coming into a store and being able to, again, purchase things for your selective space. So whether you own a full plot or you own a partial plot and have a pod or something, I like that you have a place that you can go and get these items. It makes a lot of sense to me. architecturally, I find it very intriguing on the exterior. I think that, like I mentioned a couple slides ago, you know where to enter the building, and you know that it's got at least a couple of floors, and you're seeing that there's this like architectural component. I'm getting hints of green, which may be, the attempt at trying to bring some of the NOZA in on the inside of the spaces. But when you go in and you can kind of see these vessels, I can really see that connection. So architecturally, I do like this one on the exterior a lot. I think it works with kind of what we're going for, as far as kind of the aesthetic for the avenue and such.
Yeah, and also there was cool thing about the rooftop that you
Yeah.
could land your Aves there, and then when you get in, like you would be getting your Aves special saddle and having these companion accessories, and also having that as a space for having certain type of music events or parties on the rooftop. So, and I really see that like having your companions, that it's probably the rooftop. It's I can see it like just having lots of aves just waiting for their dreamers while they're having this being participating in the party, and same time like having lots of those flying around, and that
Mm-hmm.
would be making this concept even cooler when it's in the island, that just a lot of aves companions flying around.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I think I initially interpreted, the meaning as accessories for spaces rather than your abyss. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I actually I think this concept makes it a lot more interesting with that rooftop and with the ability to fly in. So very cool.
Yeah. And then the playground dome, like having this almost like a brutalist church style building, which would be also for education, and I think it's a very nice thing that having this type of like church vibes while you're wanting to educate, and having different type of events going on, and and I believe that there are lots of different types of need in the metaverse in the future while people are gathering, and really that space makes and sets the mood for the event, and this definitely does it for lots of things when we have lots of type of like this type of very modern buildings, so this would definitely stick out from the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think the interior shot's very compelling. Again, it has that clear connection to me, that the interior and exterior are part and parcel of the same building. I like that it has this church-ish feel. It kind of has that, like, it's almost like a neo-Gothic meets brutalist approach, but it has this really ethereal and calming vibe. And like I think you mentioned it, it feels kind of almost like you're in like a university type library. And a really cool concept. Architecturally, I'm loving the diversity and the different language that are coming out. It's more than just kind of those parametric kind of curvy forms. These are really thoughtful, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And it's kind of fun when you have this also the rustic feel, because in a certain way, like we get those buildings in the physical world because they have been there for a long time, and now when you build that into a digital building, like what type of story does that tell, what type of aesthetics that gives, so it's fun.
Yeah. Would it be pronounced Hoy?
Probably home of innovation, yeah.
Home of innovation, a unique virtual business concept that caters, to both businesses and consumers, situated on, NOZA Avenue. Innovative platform for companies to showcase their products, which I find, very interesting. Again, when we're talking about specific metaverse concepts, having, not just anybody, not everyone's going to have their own plots and develop and do all of this sort of stuff. So having these spaces, and this is not like an art gallery space. This is for other uses, and having these spaces that can be flexible and function for different things. Makes a lot of sense. I think the architecture is inviting. It's kind of is similar in scale to almost like kind of those like central shops that we were looking at earlier. A little bit bigger. I love that it's very open. You can kind of pass right into the space. So architecturally, I think it's interesting, and I think that it's neutral enough to allow it to be diversified for what's coming in. So I think that that's quite interesting, and again, I'm loving that there's these touches of that NOZA color in this as well.
Yeah, and it almost like a Kickstarter for metaverse where you
Yeah,
could see like every week or every day new type of business concept being presented and something definitely like even for the future the people with a lot of fragments they can go and help someone to kickstart their business when they just arrive to the island.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So then, I don't know if you say Ava or how do you pronounce that? But this was like really like the combat training arena where people kind of like practice and all that, and then they actually get to go and do these combat. So I really like the somehow the organic, a little bit Japanese feel to it somehow, and also how these NOZA crystals have been taken into consideration as well, that they would be being part of this specialized incubation process. So this definitely I saw that there has been a lot of thinking and also how it matches with everything that is in the cornerstone. So I really like those parts, especially about the Ava.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. I think that the architecture kind of lends itself. The first thing I thought of about, when we're talking about a place like this is almost like, like in Marvel, right? Like where the superheroes come and train. It's this like really unique, separated, like its own environment. And again, this one has this calming approach. A lot of this architecture is not just kind of audacious to be audacious. It's balanced, and I think that architecturally the look and feel is really intriguing.
Yeah, and also like the whole training thing is interesting in the like what does in the metaverse, because in theory you could just uh, buy or get some type of skills just like that, a little bit like Matrix Kung Fu things that were just planted on uh, Neo's skill set and helicopter piloting and all that. But then how would crystals, for example, boost that process, that if you get to learn certain skills and if you are using that the crystals are in use in this concept, that how the skills can be learned quicker, and
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting, and I think there had been a lot of this type of deep thinking that has been going into this one. And then
Yeah,
of course
yeah,
the Know the Crusaders Batman style.
yeah. It's more than a fashion brand. It's a celebration of heroism and the human spirit. With iconic buildings, functional apparel, and the empowering messaging, the brand inspires individuals to embrace their inner hero and make a positive impact. I love the I love the message first and foremost. I find that we need more positivity. Not just with kind of this idea that we're a gamer and that we're coming in when we're suiting up for battle. I like that there's kind of this end mission, and when we're talking about iconic architecture, and I can see kind of the resemblance to Batman. I can see, I can almost kind of see like the bat logo in the door. But I really like the kind of fragmented architecture. I like that it's black and it's got that simple connection to blue and the NOZA. And I like that you kind of go underground and you kind of have the light coming from above. So um, this one to me is really cool. I think architecturally it meets kind of that high end fashion, but also I like the message, and I can see how when I'm focusing on things like does interior and exterior match. I could see the rocks behind the windows, and then when you're in that interior space, I can see the rocks. So when we're talking about coming up with mid-journey concepts, this one was executed quite well. Maybe not literally, but I really do like that there is that kind of connection there, and I like the curb appeal.
Yeah, and I have a soft spot in my heart for matte black, fractalized design. So really, really love this, and also I'm a Batman
Yeah.
fan. So like, it's really, really, really cool. But yeah, then the future Fusion VR Center of having all these type of different experiences, and I like that it's almost like it almost feels like it's levitating because somehow there is like there are these shapes, and then you get the nice views, and having these like very metaverse type of color theme going on. And the fun thing that I liked about this was that there would be the possibility to travel, that there's a little bit of that same thing that we had, that Inception dream in a dream type of thing, that you go there and then you get a certain experience. Either it's a VR ride, or having some type of game where you would be participating, and even everything that being social. So it's and I see that from these different use cases, or ways to be participating on the future Fusion VR Center, that it's pretty much a shopping mall, as there's so many different things.
Yeah. I like the use of neon. We have a neon district, or we kind of been talking about one in Cornerstone. So this one seems like a perfect fit for that, right? Again, the interior and exterior has the same color tone. It almost has kind of this like old Florida vibe to me, which I really kind of find interesting. So love all the use cases in this, and kind of I like that idea of game in a game, right? That layering of Inception type thinking. So that's really cool as well.
Yeah.
My turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Adora, introducing Adora, a touch of luxury, opulence, and elegance on NOZA Avenue. Um, I'll just fully disclose that I did help Indira with this one. At least, I didn't make a submission, and I had this idea that I thought, oh man, I can imagine companions going into this tattoo shop and getting things like put on their body, and then she kind of took it to the next level, which I thought that was really cool. So it's this transformative space where dreamers can indulge with high fashion adornments with NOZA crystals. Makes total sense, right? Can you imagine having your dreamer walking around and just like having your face like a Mike Tyson tattoo out of NOZA? I think architecturally, it is relating interior and exterior again with the colors, the organics. It does feel high fashion and approachable when I'm talking about language, as far as how do you enter a building and such. Even though that this is a very kind of like curvy, really fairly non-hierarchical building, I could see that there's a staircase leading you, which says, okay, welcome, come on in. And I like how the interior is kind of this like ethereal kind of dream space. Really cool.
Yeah, and also it almost gives this Santorini type of
It does.
crease
Yeah.
feel to it, and how it blends with the water, and having these Noza tones inside, and it's really something that you look at as a little bit of it looks like with the architecture, even though it's so fresh, that is the organic shapes into it, but it has this a little bit of the, well, maybe it's the colors that just looks very, very good together. Also, it's a Finnish flag color, so maybe that also helps. But but also I really like the interior as well, and also that thing that is directing you on the ceiling. That's fun as well. Like a nice detail to it, that you could
Yeah.
have this type of journey inside when it's so much like that, as it's like creating you this path almost through like a certain magical forest type of thing.
Yeah, and I think buildings like this, buildings that don't really have like a specific, hierarchy of spaces. You need to kind of have this like this path or this kind of like guiding light taking you through, kind of like a museum curated experience. I think that's important to think about how these buildings not only look on the outside but are truly experienced on the inside. And we have to think about short and long term experiences, like we mentioned earlier. Currently, we're experiencing this on our cell phones or on computer screens, but we need to always be thinking about how that translates into the wearables and where we are going and what that means for field of view. So there's a lot of things that like you have to think about, I think, when it comes to experiencing architecture, that we need to kind of figure out as we go forward.
Yeah, and also a little bit about that. Like I could definitely see that you wouldn't need anything else if you just have the VR headset with the Vision Pro quality, and you're just enjoying the graphics and architecture. And of course, when we're still doing stuff with browser metaverse, so then you need a little bit more interaction going on. But this space would definitely work just as a visual astonishing piece. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, then the shell. So this was fun, like having like this paying homage to the island of companions, and having this like Aves type of feel to it. So it was really also like I like the thing of having the crystal, NOZA crystal there in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and how that is like beneath this cupola, and so that they could be actually like these dreamers with their aves, they would be able to fly in. So I really like that part of this design.
Yeah, I like the idea that it almost feels like it's like a shell and there's like a pearl that's on the inside, and that's also to me relating to, or it could be an egg or anything. It's to me, it's also saying like enter, welcome, and then the interior and exterior images are, I mean, almost spot on. Like you can really see that where you're coming from. Now it looks like different seasons potentially, if you're looking at kind of the trees, and one has the snow in the background, but that doesn't bother me at all. I really, again, I think that this is a really interesting architectural concept. It's very intriguing. The scale of a building like this, I think, needs to be fairly large, maybe be a little too big for Noza Avenue, because just experiencing the avenue, you're going to kind of be surrounded with a bunch of buildings. So maybe it needs to have a little bit more room to breathe to really stand out, as kind of such an architectural dynamic building. Um, and yeah, I really, again, I like this one a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so it reminds me somehow in a modern way of that Los Angeles Observatorium. So
Mm,
there is something about it, but in very modern, and I think this is cooler. But
yeah.
but yeah.
The cornerstone eye. So I think it's my turn, right?
Yeah.
I'll jump kind of to a little bit of the middle way down. It's a time traveler's. Sorry. Envision an otherworldly tower embracing the cornerstone eye, embodiment of eco consciousness and futuristic innovation. I do think that a building like this is super iconic, and to me, it really feels like it would be kind of like a centerpiece to the island in some way, shape, or form. It's kind of like this monument talking about kind of the history. And can you tell me a little bit about the background of the building and what its use case is?
Yeah, like the having these metaverse inspired historic museum, and having the like different type of experiences there. But I really like that idea of having a metaverse history museum, and how that I actually like seeing all that and being seeing, and even though there was mentioned that about having these imaginative events, but somehow those events that are happening in the cornerstone, they become cornerstone history. So
Mm,
all of that actually makes total sense when you start to think about that they are somehow these most special events are captured, and you could go and visit and relive those moments again. And that's kind of like a fun thing to be able to go, and something that happened in the beginning or happened 2 years from now. And
Yeah.
like whole the
What's
history thing, yeah.
when I'm looking at it too, I'm almost imagining, if you're inside the center of the eye, you could almost see all of metaverse time. The future possibilities, the past that has actually happened. I feel like this building has this power. It's almost like it's coming from one of the main energy sources of the island. It's more than just kind of what's happened. I like the talk about art installations, this idea of the time travelers gala, really cool. I like quests in virtual reality. So I think that this building on the exterior to me is super iconic. It feels important when you see it, and when you kind of hear about kind of what's happening on the inside, it makes a lot of sense. I think that the use case and the architecture are really well blended in this case.
Yeah, really like it. And then, yeah, the tonic. So meta music for the masses. I really liked about this how the exterior is having these screens or displays where what is happening inside. So it makes it very appealing to go inside. And part of like having these different type of audio, and it was cool how you actually mentioned even like what type of different type of tools could be used on the technology level of bringing this to live. And like one of my, like how I could really see this happening is that there is like different dreamers coming in, and they would be contributing something to that type of, when you mention about the jam, having these music jams, so people would be contributing somehow with a certain sounds, and then those sounds starts to make all those graphics to come alive, and you could already
Mm-hmm.
from outside see that what type of thing is going on, and you could bring something to that jam. And I really love this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with you. I think that the idea of having a place for creatives to come together and create together, and then having this building react to that creativity as almost it's part of that symphony in some way, shape, or form, is kind of taking that idea of the metaverse to really where I think it should be going. And I think that this building kind of is wholeheartedly taking that concept of how we're experiencing and what we're doing together, and then the building's reacting to it. And that's something I find kind of like most exciting about the buildings that we've been talking about, is when a building can react to what's happening. Why not? And in this case, it makes a lot of sense. So this was a very cool one to look at.
Yeah, that was it. That was all the concepts, and that was a little bit over an hour. And like hope you will be enjoying watching this. And thank you, Matthew, so much joining for this session.
Absolutely.
And don't you love
Thank
how
you for
much
having me.
inspiration there is, and like different type of concepts.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.